We're just welcome. Well, welcome. Welcome to Port News Network, KEXU, Po People's Revolutionary Radio on 96.1 FM on the dial in Oakland and streaming live online at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is Sister Omawali Fowles, Elder Council Member of Poor Magazine and Manna from Heaven Breakfast Program, in studio with formerly houseless Po poet and poverty scholar Sister Tiny and her guests. At this time, we would like to recognize that several stories are afoot and very much in need of airing. How do we lose our children in this broken system? That's real. Welcome, folks. This is PNN, not CNN. That's Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. And I'm blessed to be in studio today with some powerful elder warriors, formerly houseless, homefulness residents, and change makers. Tonight, broadcast, we're going to be speaking with a mama who lost her baby. We're also going to have a Hobo Eastmo report with our resident Hobo scholar in residence, Uncle Francis. Then we're going to talk through the theft of Mama Water, aka the violence that they're trying to perpetrate on what is known as the Delta in so-called California. And it's going to be a powerful show, and we urge you to stick with us. But first we're going to get a little update from the Landless, Houseless People's Movement to unsell more of Mama Earth in occupied Yalamo. Listen to this short video. We're standing in front of Homefulness Yalamu. We came here, there were relatives who were sleeping here, and we worked, lovingly. We started with the prayer circle, and with the newsroom, and with food, like we always do. We got folks who were here in the middle of that really cold holiday into hotels, not supported by the fucking city, because they don't give a fuck. Kids can die on the street as far as they're concerned. We got them in with community reparations. Then we got them into Continuum of Care, which is a non-profiteer, long-ass thing, which is not good. After that, we kept coming back and supporting folks with love cleans. And all of the relatives who are actually houseless here are actually deciding to take a cash option that we raised for them and leave today. Meanwhile, at the same time, we got all the folks around here surveilling us, fucking cameras, like I don't even know if they got slapped or some shit, and they reported us to DPW, and we end up with a fucking $1,000 fine because we didn't evict people to nowhere. And so then today it all culminated in one of those hater neighbors calling the fucking cops, and it's just sad. It's sad.
So what's the situation
They asked if we wanted to press charges. We said no.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to press charges
right.
on no poor people. Hello. And so they're asking them, the underground economic strategists who put on the lock, to take the lock off and to take their office, which they have, and go. And also I want to be very real with folks. Homefulness is a sober environment. We can't have that particular kind of business going on at Homefulness. No hate, no disrespect. People got to do what they got to do to get paid. But within the Homefulness, a lot of us are in recovery from serious addiction and extreme struggle. And that's why we agreed collectively in the Elephant Circle to have it be a sober environment. So that particular type of business can't continue. That said, the other micro business person is a bicycle repair person. We invited them to come back and do their shop.
We're here at Liberated Land, and we're getting harassed by neighbors that are housed, that are not satisfied being housed, and seeing unhoused people suffering out here. So come on down the 24th, that's this Saturday, to Homefulness Yalamu.
So, yeah, please join us on this coming Saturday. That would be January 24th at 1 p.m. as we basically create an all nations ceremony and welcoming in to the ancestors of that land and to the community. We've gotten nothing but nonstop harassment. People cannot understand really what a homeless people's solution to homelessness looks like. And it's nothing new under the settler's sun. So please join us this Saturday, 1 p.m., 3390 Cesar Chavez Street, right at Mission in occupied Yalamu. That said, I want to welcome in a powerful warrior who survived these streets. You know, in the not too distant past, when folks were houseless, they were known as hobos. And they actually, you know, it's kind of a slur, but it's also a community. And it's also a powerful perspective. And for me, it's just another way of saying poverty scholar. So we are blessed to have a resident hobo scholar here at Homefulness, who's going to be talking about basically the incarceration of houseless people in occupied Turtle Island by this trickster government who would basically like to incarcerate every poor person it gets. Uncle Francis, can you introduce yourself and talk about that? What's going on?
Yes, I'm Uncle Francis. One-time hobo. Now old and tired. You not getting my voice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Every hobo has got a favorite town that he passes through or gets off into resupply, get a few good meals. For me, well, since I did do a lot of riding east and west, I like to get on a train, get a long ride, preferably through the desert, and relax and detox and decompress from my time in the city. I didn't like the city. I came to the cities to get work, get some money, get a grub stake, and get out of town. Oftentimes, I'd find a town to go to in the summer at the right time, and I'd pick up a job at a farm as a farmhand, spend the whole summer there. But sometimes, well, when you leave from Oakland or California on a Union Pacific line going east, generally you catch the train out of Roseville. You go from, if I start in Oakland, I'll get my way to Roseville and then get on an eastbound there in Roseville. You know, water is heavy, so you know, I would take maybe 2 liters of water for the trip. The trip generally, if you're on a fast train, is you get there in about 48 hours. But if you're on a slow train, which is the kind of train I chose to ride, because it's the low priority train, the valuable cargo is on the high priority trains like the shipping container trains. They go fast. They'll make Salt Lake City in about 30 hours. Whereas on a general manifest train or a train that's got, when you see it, it has a mixture of box cars, tank cars, all kinds of cars. That's a manifest train. Anyway, those go slow. They stop for all the other trains. So sometimes you leave Roseville with, let's say, 2 gallons of water. You get to Salt Lake City, you might have half a gallon of water left if you're traveling in the summer, which is when we generally traveled. You go through the desert, you drink a lot of water. So you got to get off in Salt Lake City, get a supply. Salt Lake City was a friendly stop for the hobos at the time that I was going through it in the 80s and the 90s. It's Mormon country, and the Mormons are very compassionate people. There was a lot of handouts there in Salt Lake City. So hobo, get in, get off the train, go to the rescue mission, get a few hot meals, hang out in Pioneer Park, which is just up the street from the rescue mission, and spend your days in the park. If it's again it's a hot summer day. Pioneer Park is a whole city block there in Salt Lake City. It's where the Mormon, when they came west from New York and some trouble in Missouri, where the founder of the church was assassinated. They had some problems coming west. Had a lot of discrimination because they practiced polygamy, and that really upset a lot of Christian people. In fact, they spent some time in Nauvoo, Illinois, which is a swampy place that they built up and built a temple there, and then they had problems. And the governor of Illinois issued an eradication order for all the Mormons in Illinois, so they had to get out. But before they could get out, Joseph Smith was arrested and he was actually assassinated in the jail. But anyways, that's their history. So they're compassionate people. They've experienced discrimination and adversity. So the hobos was always very careful in that town. It's a clean city, cleanest city I've ever visited. Every day the streets are clean. We hung out at the park, but we never camped in the park. The hobos had a ethic. When we came into a town, we didn't upset the citizens of that town because we came to that town for resources to either get work, make some jobs, panhandle, whatever it was. So you don't upset the people of the town. So they were very careful not to abuse our stay there. And at the time that I was going through there a lot, there was, I ate dinner we would get a hot meal at the rescue mission and have lunch at the St. Vincent's dining room. So there was always a crowd at the rescue mission at St. Vincent's, and across the street from the St. Vincent's dining room was the homeless shelter, and it was a fairly large operation. So there was quite a few homeless and poor people there, and so, but it was no. You didn't see them so much, they were hidden, I guess, and that was the custom of the time. The homeless people hid, so you didn't see them. The hobos was always they would never think of pitching camp in a public park. That's a people's place, and then we cannot come in as visitors and then take over the people's place. That's just the way we operate. I have problems with that, when I look at homelessness today, I think that if they weren't visible, nobody would pay any attention, they just die wherever they were. But things changed. The only substance abuse that I saw when I was hoboing was alcohol. Once in a while, some people would come through, would be doing drugs. Heroin, methamphetamine, whatever. But it was at the time I was familiar with Salt Lake City. There was no much drugs, but it's different now. About 5 years or so ago, the homeless population got so bad that Salt Lake City adopted and embraced the housing first philosophy, and they were I guess they were successful at it. I don't know what they mean by housing first. Is that putting someone in a shelter? They consider that housing? I don't think so. I don't consider that housing. But anyway, they seem to have reduced the homeless population by about 1,200 people. There were no homeless visible on the streets, and they bragged about it. And so some cities, like San Francisco, I know, put some people on a Greyhound bus with a one-way ticket to Salt Lake City and sent their problems there. Las Vegas did that a lot too. So then, in a matter of a couple of years, the homeless population exploded in Salt Lake City. And now they do have a serious problem of homeless, just like anywhere else in a major urban setting. However, the bad news about that is that Governor Cox, Utah Governor Cox, has earmarked $50 million in this year's budget to construct what they're calling a homeless services campus, but other people are calling a detention center. And that the governor has remarked that they plan to use this facility. It's a 1,300 bed facility. 300 beds, I think, is for homeless services, and the rest of it is 500 beds is for civil commitment people. They're going to civilly commit all the drug addicts that they pick up in the course of their sweeps. That's their plan. They're catering to Donald Trump's executive order, where he's talked about it. I mean, Donald Trump was talking about. He never mentioned civil commitment. Never used that term in his campaign, but he talked about finding somewhere to put the homeless and isolating them there. And so they're coming up with this plan to build this facility 7 miles from downtown in a farming community in the middle of nowhere. There's no services, no bus. It's not on a bus line. It's isolated. And they're getting a lot of pushback from the community there. It's a farming community, and they're getting a lot of pushback from the clergy in Salt Lake City. They don't like the idea that this governor is talking about civil commitments, but the people are fed up with the drug scene and the open air drug thing, like everywhere else, that goes on in some of these urban centers. So, and he's promoting this project that he's got in mind as the model for the national homeless solution. In other words, he's catering to Trump's the wish to civilly commit all the drug addicts, and they're being assisted by a think tank by that goes the Cicero Institute, who was founded by this tech billionaire Joe Lonsdale he's from California here, Fremont. He was born in Fremont. But his position is homelessness is a result of mental illness and drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It's not a housing problem. And that's what he preaches. And that's what he got this governor convinced, that you don't have a housing problem here. You tried that, didn't you? And it didn't work. You tried to put them in housing and you still got homeless. So this is all mental illness and a drug addiction problem. So let's civilly commit them. We'll isolate them in this facility. And this facility is, anyone that gets in there, you don't have the privilege of going in and out. You're behind a lot. It's a prison.
Yeah.
It's a prison, flat out. I mean, because of the pushback from the community there. In fact, this one stable right next to the site, they've already purchased the 15 acres or so, whatever. And they said, no, don't worry, to the community. The governor said, we're going to build a high security fence. What the hell? And you call this a homeless services compound?
Wow.
I mean, the artist rendition of it, it looks real cool.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like a very expensive senior care facility. You know, one of those low, sprawling, nice, cool-looking buildings. But it's a freaking prison.
Right.
It-
Let me just say something, Francis. So I don't know if people understand, but the incarceration of houseless people has already been escalating.
Yes.
All of these politics mayors, when they come up with their solutions, really what they are is forms of carceral, you know, detention. And let's be real, what they're doing with our relatives from the other sides of the false borders, what they're doing basically with, you know, basically anybody, black and brown and poor in this country right now. But the specific thing is, you don't even need Trump. Daniel Lurie just came out with his State of the City last week, and he called it, get this, a reset center, which is something out of some weird archipelago or whatever. It's
A reset?
Yeah, reset center. This is what you do. You go into the reset center and somehow get reset like your computer.
Yeah.
And if you don't, aka whatever hoop they ask you to jump through, you immediately go to jail. And they're giving our relatives right now who are on the street in Frisco fines and jail time 6 months to a year for the sole act of being houseless and being picked up a second time. So this thing that Uncle Francis is talking about, that is already in the pipeline, and that's their solution.
Yeah.
I do also want to say that the time that we visited that place, so-called Salt Lake City, they had already instituted one of the things that Western Regional Advocacy Project peeped us to, and shout out to RAP, who's Poverty Scholar-led research about poor people, is that Salt Lake City is already, like you said, after the Housing First got too big for them to handle, they've already started pretty intense criminalization.
Yes.
So it's not such a big leap. I'm just curious, Francis, in terms of your perspective on this, you know, what you think is a quote-unquote alternative. And I know that you are a homefulness resident.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about your perspective on that.
Okay. Well, you know, in 1971, Nixon started his war on drugs. It was, I mean, one of his advisors later on had an interview with some publication, and he admitted it wasn't so much a war on drugs as a war on the hippies, the left wing of the Democratic Party, which he called the hippies. They all smoked dope, you know. Okay, we're gonna get rid of them. And the blacks, he said, you know, they're all into heroin. So we're gonna use this drug war law to disable the Black Panther movement, and that's what they did. You know, COINTELPRO came along, right?
Right.
COINTELPRO is what killed Fred Hampton
Yeah.
in Chicago. They drugged the food. The FBI drugged the food that they ate in the communal kitchen, got them all stoned, and came in and blasted and killed them.
Yeah.
And then his brother over in Houston, they started some. He was corresponding with some Panther guy down there, and the FBI COINTELPRO intercepted that communication, began writing letters, shitty letters to each other, and got them fighting among them. And then I guess Hampton's brother's name was Chris. He got killed. So then they started locking people up left and right for drugs. I mean, harsh sentences. So much so that the population of the prisons skyrocketed. We had the most incarcerated people in the world, you know. They couldn't imprison their way out of the drug war. Since the drug war started, last time I checked, they spent over $1 trillion on the drug war, and nothing's changed.
Right.
You know?
Thank you.
And so what it is, you know, I've been saying this for a while. For some people, there's profit in poverty, and there's profit in the drug for legitimate businesses, and that's how they handle it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all about money.
Thank you.
And they're not about solving the you know, you want to solve the whole thing, build freaking affordable housing. It's simple as that.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you.
I mean, it doesn't take a freaking genius to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, the people in Salt Lake City that are homeless because they're priced out of the housing in Salt Lake City.
Thank you.
They built housing in Salt City, but it was all upscale stuff.
Right.
You know, townhouses. I mean, all the development in Salt Lake City that I've seen that come along in the years that I see, is all for upscale people.
Yeah.
And the low, and they pretend there's no wow, you don't have any income because you're too lazy.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they say.
Yeah.
And
All right.
always when they talk about the failure of the program, the money spent, they put the onus on the homeless. It's like it's their fault that the damn program didn't
Exactly.
but they put in crappy management, so it's designed to fail.
Mhm.
That's the way I see it.
Exactly. Thank you, Francis. I don't know, Omawali is another warrior with this. Just curious if you wanted to weigh in at all on your perspective. We already know carceral systems and what happened in Uchun and Oakland right now. Hello.
Hello, we've already lost 2 transitional houses, the Henry Robinson Hotel and the Holland Hotel that housed almost 300 people, not each, but totally. And the Holland was closed on December 31st, 2025. Henry Robinson was closed somewhere between October and November 2025. We have no idea what happened to the people who were living there, who were eligible for transitional housing assistance to get into permanent housing, which meant that BACS, Bay Area Community Services, would not only fund their furniture, linen, beds, pots and pans, flatware, cookware, everything, but they would also pay a declining portion of the rent for about 4 to 6 months, which means that they would start out with paying the first month's rent and the security deposit, then they would pay 75% and the tenant would pay 25%, and the next month the BACS would pay 50%, tenant would pay 50%, and the next month the BACS would pay 25%, and the tenant would pay 75%, and then by that time, hopefully the tenant had raised enough money or developed enough financial stability to do the 100% on his or her own without having to worry about being evicted, running out of money, or anything of that nature. BACS has flex funds. BACS has access to Home Stretch Fund. BACS has access to a number of other funds that are coming out of the Home Together program sponsored by the Alameda County Department of Health and Human Services. And that's Measure W money that was voted in 2020, which has somewhere in the area of $650 million built up over that 5 or 6 year period. Now we're trying to find out, well, how are you deploying those $650 million
Because if they were,
to house
that's
folks?
right. Yes, they're
Yeah,
how
nobody's being housed.
nobody's
Everybody
being
is
housed.
being swept, encampments thrown away, documents thrown away, people's emotional health being destroyed and tampered with. And we're seeing the devolution instead of the evolution upward of the entire social services support system in the county of Alameda, and I would imagine around the rest of the other 57 counties in California.
that part. I just want to thank Omawali and Uncle Francis for the for the Hobo Scholar report. I want to also seriously alert relatives who are listening to speak up, to speak to your politricksters in your district. This detention center, aka prison for houseless people in Salt Lake City, is absolutely the evil that we already knew was happening, and the only way we're going to stop it, just like we are watching our relatives in so-called Minneapolis do, is by fighting back, speaking up, and standing up. They would like to incarcerate people for being houseless without any repercussions. They're already doing it, and the only way we're going to stop it is to speak up. We have to shift gears here because we have a different kind of struggle. We know that while we struggle for our lives as poor and houseless indigenous people, we also struggle for Mother Earth, for the ancestors, for the Mother Water and the sky, for our beautiful four-legged and winged ones, and we know that they are under attack as well. We are blessed to bring in Tibu on the ones and twos. Can you bring in our guest? We are blessed to bring in a beautiful sister warrior, water protector, who is one of a coalition of warriors trying to make sure that a beautiful sacred place known as the Delta, but with many other historical names of the First Nations people of that land, is not stolen for more corporate data centers and, evil corporate designs. Welcome, Nicole, to Poor People's Radio. Hold on one
Ma-
second. We can't hear you yet.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
I before you start, I just want to make sure, Uncle Francis, you okay sitting with us, or do you want to step
Huh?
out? You okay sitting with us?
what's going on?
It's going for this next interview.
No.
Okay.
You wanna go home? Okay.
Go ahead.
No,
Just take off your.
Because I'm having a hard time hearing.
No,
Oh,
no
are you?
problem. No problem. I want to say so much love to our hobo scholar, Uncle Francis, for his powerful warriorship and report. It's okay, so that's why that one made. Let's let Uncle Francis go, and then we'll be right there with you, hon.
Well, things aren't getting any better. I'm not getting any surgery.
Here's your,
The doctor said I'm not good enough. Because I smoke and he doesn't want to do surgery with me.
Oh,
my
my
Lord.
God.
And then he wouldn't answer any of my questions.
of course not.
Well, actually,
Well,
the feeling I got from him.
tell me afterwards, though, because we're still on the air.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't want to tell him my part.
Sorry, guys, we're getting our elder scholars are giving us some very important knowledge.
Yeah, let me.
And right
go
now
get her.
transitioning. Okay. Let me let Tibu come back in the room. And honestly, at Hopefulness too, we practice eldership in the ways of in the good ways of our ancestors, and recognizing that our elders need to move slower. So we appreciate you, Poor People's Radio, for having that love and that patience. We know capitalism killed everything, even our patience. Okay, dear Nicole, welcome to Poor People's Radio. We love you already. Go ahead.
Mahim Sintamana Ke Kanema, Nicole Anna, Round Valley Ke Anna. My name is Nicole Whipple, and I'm a member of the Round Valley Indian Tribes, and I'm also a water protector and policy advocate working with Save California Salmon, which is a indigenous-led nonprofit organization who support indigenous peoples, and as well as all of our communities, our waterways, and fish dependent people in California. We work all over, up and down the state, and I'm very proud to say that my my relatives, my coworkers, and my colleagues, they undam the Klamath. So,
Whee!
and free the eel. We're up next. But
Oh,
as and I want to thank you. I was blessed enough to be able to attend the Sunrise at Alcatraz, and then the next day was able to share space and time with with the Segorite Land Trust and Karina and the family there. And that was the first time that I got to go on the walk. I have been able to come to some of their celebrations there in East Berkeley a few times, but that was the first time I got to make it to the walk, and it was a very beautiful experience. And I was so surprised to see Poor Magazine's post on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, there I am holding a flag. And it was very invigorating because my family. I come from a family of advocates, and um,
oh,
feel like I was really making my family proud,
I
and
say.
so it was very beautiful. And I thank you for all that you do in your space and your time, and for allowing me to come here and talk about what we're doing Again, I'm from Round Valley. My big push has been for the Eel River, and I was at the rally, the Shell Mound and Alcatraz, asking for support to decommission the dams in our area. But today we are focusing on the Bay Delta. And a little bit of history about myself is that, I mentioned that I'm from Round Valley and we have our own basically Trail of Tears story where the Nome Colt Trail, they're one of the first reservations, federal enclave was created and started over in Nomalaki on the on over in the valley and then moved into Round Valley where my reservation is now. But my mother's family and my ancestral ties are from the Central Valley, where Maidu, Concow, and Nomalaki tribes. And so when we talk about the Bay Delta, we're talking about the rivers and tributaries that flow from my ancestral territories that my family was moved away from. And so it means a lot for me to be able to stand up and fight for justice for this river and the Bay Delta. And so, um,
Gosh,
just did you have any questions for
well,
me or
yeah,
anything?
so that's beautiful. First of all, I just want to ground listeners and viewers a little bit into this notion of the delta itself. That unfortunately, a lot of people, even in so-called California, right, don't even know about the sacred delta. And so, just first of all, lifting you up for this work, relative, and also if you could maybe tell listeners and viewers a little bit about, I don't know, the history of the delta, if you know that, and also just sort of how you got involved and what is the struggle that's going on right now.
There's quite a few struggles with the Bay Delta. I have had the opportunity to work with quite a few different organizations. I had, was blessed with, well, to go back for my tribe, I was appointed as secretary for one of our committees, and that was our Yuki committee, which then was brought in to change the name of Hastings Law School. So we were able to change the name of Hastings Law School. It's now UC San Francisco law, which, I'll just be on it. In all honesty, we were wishing for an indigenous name. We proposed an indigenous name. If they were going to do the name change for us, we wanted to have the indigenous name represented. And we got pushback from other indigenous tribes, which is okay. But they ended up, because we were struggling amongst ourselves, they decided to name the school San Francisco, which is worse than Hastings, because San Francisco represents the
Missionary system.
mission system, which took out all of California natives. So um, I'm happy that we were able to change the name, but I don't feel like it was anything better because, again, I feel like San Francisco is equally or even more offensive to the entire state of all of our tribal nations. But so in that case, how I became involved was that, we got to partake in a few truth and healing um, gatherings, and I sat on a panel and I got to meet Karina. And from there, we spoke more about um, the Bay Delta. I got to meet Chief Sisk. I became, you know, I just got the opportunity to work with a number of indigenous leaders, and many of them from the Bay Area, and got to learn about the work that they're doing in protecting and the land back and the rematriation. And so, as I was working as a appointed secretary for my tribe and our committee, we were working with Morningstar Galley, and she came in to help us, guided us through the process of our legislation. And then I started following her and became connected with. I seen Save California Salmon had some opportunities for some work and internships, and so I didn't realize at the time that she was a board member. And I asked her, like, "Hey, do you think I'm too old to be an intern? I'm really interested in this work." prior to, I was, one of the reasons why I was really interested in the Hastings case and being involved with our Yuki committee is that I was studying law and justice, and I thought I was going to go into criminal law. And one of the good things that came out of that legislation, and our initiatives, was that the college will pay for our tribal members to attend Hastings Law School. And so it's one of my goals that I have, is to be, eventually get there to work on my Juris Doctorate. But at that time, I was thinking I was going to go into criminal law and reentry and supporting reentry and rehabilitation. But I just didn't really have the heart once I started doing more studying and once I became involved in the environmental justice, I decided that was the area that I wanted to study. So I needed to get some background, get my boots on the ground, and applied
Right.
for the
And
internship with Save California Salmon. And one of my first tasks was to sit in on a water board meeting. And so I sat there with our staff attorney and our executive director for like 3 days straight, listening to all of the BS about how, this making false habitats and these delta tunnels were good for the environment and going to make things better for the Bay Delta and all of our river systems. And in the meantime, I was doing my internship and I had a fellowship, and I'm traveling in and out of the Bay Area, and I'm like looking at the water like, that's not good. That can't be good. So it was like every time I got off a plane or was traveling nearby, or we were visiting all these places and seeing the water, and I'm looking at it like, why are these politicians lying? Why are these scientists lying about all this when the water is so poor? And it just looks terrible. And I'm taking all these pictures and sending them to my director, like, I can't believe this. What is going on? And um, so that's how I
that's
kind of got involved. And then, going back to Karina, I got to talk to her. We were doing public comments, and she got to share some stories with me about how, the smelt. So our connection came because, again, I'm from northern California, Mendocino County, and I grew up on the coast there. And my dad was he fished surf.
okay.
That
I
was,
can.
we spent our whole entire summers on the coast, and these surffish are little tiny fish that look similar to smelt. And so when Karina started telling me about the Delta tribes, and that was their food source, was the smelt. It was just kind of like sparked my interest, and I wanted to do more to help. And
Right.
because
And
we struggle on our coastline, um,
and did
and
you and so coming out of there now with all that beautiful, water background and, resistance work, can you tell listeners and viewers what the push right now is? What is your community asking for? What are we fighting for right now for the Delta?
right now, what we are doing is we are fighting in opposition of the voluntary agreements. So, voluntary agreements are basically a way for the water rights holders to fast track, the way that they use and disperse the water. And it's really unfortunate. Just like, we talk about the land being stolen and the water and all those things. California really has a very poor history on how the water rights became, and we know that they've been taken or stolen, where water rights were, basically colonizers were going in and taking tribal people's lands and rights and waters, and then giving them a small piece of anything that they could, or just really taking from the tribal people, indigenous people. And so today, those that hold the water rights kind of, there's just a very poor history on how those came about and who holds true senior water rights.
Right.
Um, right
That
now, the Bureau of Reclamation is one of the largest owners of a water right in the Bay Delta. And so what's happening is that with the voluntary agreements, the idea is that they fast track, they leave out the tribes. You know, there's many other things that are happening as far as CEQA and protections for all of our ancestral territories and all tribes in California, where they're trying to negate a lot of the promises that have been made by the governor already about how he's going to respect and acknowledge all this indigenous knowledge and every tribal member and every tribe. And then when it comes down to it, you know, when the process of consultation happens, a lot of tribal members are being left out, and so when these voluntary agreements, that's another push to push out the indigenous people who are not federally recognized, but are from the Bay Area. And only certain tribes are being allowed to speak. And they're not even getting very far, even though they do have the right to speak. And they're not able to claim all of their ancestral territories and water rights and uh, waterways and things of that sort. So today, we are fighting against the voluntary agreements because again it's a fast track of like, okay, you have a water right and you have a water right, you go ahead and talk amongst yourself, forget all of the federal and state laws and policies and guidance that are have been written and put into place. You go about yourself and as water right holders and decide and determine how much water you will allow or how much you're going to charge, you know. And that's very dangerous for not only our fish populations in the rivers, but also for communities to have access to clean drinking water, which is a huge problem. So that equity, you know, the State Water Board does have a equity plan and guidance that is kind of being dismissed again, so that
So,
these water rights
so
holders
for
can decide on
right,
their
and
own.
so we're just running out of time. So I want to make sure that the ask is clear in terms of how you're asking people to support, to step up, to speak back right now. And I just want to clarify that um, in the delta, which is a huge water, it's essentially a huge tributary that goes all the way through, really, the so-called California, and it's really very enmeshed, not only with all the tribal lands, but also with, just all of the relatives who survive around that waterway, right? And right,
Yes.
go ahead.
So it includes the Feather, American, San Joaquin, and Sacramento, and many other rivers and tributaries. But right now, what we're asking for is Save California Salmon will be hosting a training to help support people provide public comment, and we have two dates actually. So tomorrow, our one of our sister organizations, Yosemite Rivers Alliance, will be holding a speaker training on the 21st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Um, and that will help, you know, guide talking points, because again, the ask is that we are opposing voluntary agreements. We want all of the policies and that are in laws that are in place to protect our tribal beneficial uses and cultural uses and access to free clean water be upheld. And then Save California Salmon will also be having a training on January 26th from 6 to 7. And I can send that information to you, or you can find Save California Salmon on Facebook and Instagram. And
Wait, state California salmon. That's what they should look up.
it's Save.
Save California salmon
Yes.
on Face Crack and Instascam. I mean, I
I
mean
love it.
IG, and Facebook. But we need to save our salmon relatives, please.
Yes. You
So
can
that
look us
has
up
to
on the
happen.
regular web too. I mean, we're if
Okay,
you look
but
us
but
up.
can I ask you, sis? Are these on Zoom for folks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, they
and
are
they're
available on
free,
Zoom and
and they're
they're
free.
free.
Okay.
And we also have a rally. So the water board hearing will be held between the 28th and the 30th. Each day there will be time for public comment, and you do have, if you're in person, you can comment then, but to virtually provide public comment, we'll provide it in the training how to do that. You have to do a virtual card. You have to submit a virtual card online. But we will be hosting a rally. So we are really asking for the public, especially people who are part of the Bay Delta and part of these rivers, to come out on January 30th at 12:30 at the Cal EPA building for our rally
Where
and to
is that?
speak up. Cal EPA building in Sacramento.
Okay, so it's a okay, and so again, you'll find that out by going to Save the Salmon.
Save
Um,
California salmon.
Save California Salmon. I urge people, if they can, to go in person. These are meetings that they count on us not going to, and a lot of them, of course, are filled with people, unfortunately, who are paid to be there from these giant corporate industries who want to create things like data centers and destroy our communities.
Yes, yes.
For real. As we're closing out, hon, tell people how also they can support if they can't make it. Just are you also the work that you are doing also in this? Just how they follow you. Are you also part of Save California Salmon, or is there anything else they should follow or
I
know
am a
from you?
contractor for Save California Salmon. I am on Facebook and Instagram as well. But yes, definitely look up us, Save California Salmon. We have a lot of information there on our website, and if you can't make it, there's always the virtual attendance,
Okay.
and yeah, we have a lot of opportunities. We're also working on comments to against offshore oil drilling.
Oh
So we have a
God.
lot of campaigns. If you can't make this one, keep checking into us, and we would love your support at any time on any of our.
Ashe. We love you so much, family. Thank you for joining us. You're doing beautiful work.
Absolutely.
All
Teddy
right.
Woodham, walk well.
Oh, Mateo. Thank you, dear. You're
Thank you.
listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, family. It's been a wild night. It's been a wild week. And it's only Tuesday. Hey. So I urge you all, Tibu on the ones and twos. Let's give a shout out to Tibu on the ones and twos. We appreciate Tibu.
Yay, Tibu!
If you could bring up the flyers, I want to remind relatives who are listening or viewing that this Saturday, in the month of
January.
the colonizers called January, on the 24th, that's this Saturday, January 24th, 3390 Cesar Chavez Street in so-called San Francisco, occupied Del Amo. There will be a beautiful ceremony. Ramatush Ohlone relatives will be joining us. Shout out to Greg Castro and all the relatives. We'll be having Ifa prayer. We'll be having danza. Danzantes are invited. We'll be having all kinds of yummy food. And we'll be having a press conference from us poverty scholars about what we're even doing, trying to unsell more of occupied Mama Earth. Because we all know that Mama Earth is not for sale. Yeah.
We'd also like to let you know that the Black Resource Center is being started. The first shovel of dirt will take place on Friday, the 23rd of January 2026, from 11:30 a.m. to 1890 Alcatraz Avenue. That's between Adeline and Telegraph in Oakland. Everybody come out, bring whatever libation and blessings that you can, because this has taken 11 years before the city of Berkeley would give us enough money to have a Black Health Resource Center. That's what this is. 1890 Alcatraz Avenue, Oakland, 94609, 11:30 a.m. to 12 noon.
All right.
Please come out on Friday, 23rd. Thank you.
All right, family. So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. Always crazy, always wild, always confusing, and riddled with technical difficulties. You couldn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So anyway, to get our complete podcasts, you can go to poormagazine.org. You can also go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instascam, FaceCrack, X, Blue Sky, or Poverty Scholar, also in all of those, or Poor Magazine on all of those. Or you can also go to our Poor News Network channel on YouTube. We appreciate you. We love you. And all power to the people.
Power to the people.
Thank you, family.
All right.
That was good.